Let us pray. May the words of our mouths and may the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. So today is a special day. A special day when we celebrate the only three of Jesus' disciples were able to go with him alone, to take a walk up to the top of the mountain. Now, this wasn't the first time these three disciples had gotten to go somewhere alone with Jesus. There was another time that the rock, Peter, James, and John were considered special and had gotten to go with Jesus. And that time was when a little girl had died. And when the little girl had died, Jesus took the three alone. They went into her room, and he took her by the hand and raised her up. They were the only three that got to witness what Jesus had done, giving life to one who was dead. So here they are today, 3 years into his ministry, and he said, "Come on, you three, we're going for a walk again." So they took a walk up this high mountain. And when they got there, immediately Jesus completely changed. The word in Greek was metamorphosis. He didn't just, get a little older or anything like that. He changed. And his clothes became so white that they probably could barely even look at him because it was blinding to their eyes. And it says that rock said something really stupid. For he was frightened. Now, have any of you ever experienced somebody change in their appearance? Maybe, it seemed overnight, they got older, got gray hair. Or maybe their body transformed and they either lost a lot of weight or gained a lot of weight. And you see them, and you don't know what to think. Is something wrong? Are they sick? Are they dying? And you just plain say something stupid. Maybe you say something like, "Well, that's different." You've never done that. And not one of you. Welcome, yeah, somebody's raising his hand in the back. He understood what "that's different" meant. Well, when my son was 2, there was a little accident involving him sitting in a stroller and a set of steps. And by the time he got to the bottom of the steps and his head had slammed into the cement at the bottom, by the time I tipped him back up, his head was already swelling out. Well, the doctor's office was only 2 blocks away, and I rushed him to the doctor's office, and he was screaming, and it was pandemonium. And there was nothing broken. And the doctor said, "You are so lucky it's swelling out." So I took him home, and that night he was sitting having ice cream with his grandma. And his grandma looked over at me. This was her first grandchild. The doctor did say, "It'll get normal again one day, right?" He looked like the Incredible Hulk. That head was out about 3 inches straight. Blood was draining down in his eye. I did not miss a beat. Nope. Doctor said, "This is it. Stuck forever." Well, the look on her face, I didn't make her suffer very long. "Mom, he'll be fine. It's okay." She couldn't handle it that her grandchild would look different for the rest of his life. How about you? Can you handle it when you look in the mirror and see a change? Can you handle it when you see your parents aging? Not what you expected. I believe it was probably the same way for Peter and James and John up on that high mountain. To see such a complete change in their friend, something that was totally unrecognizable. And because it was so hard for them, it only lasted a short time. God could not bear to see them afraid, not knowing what was happening. Sometimes we need to be snapped out of that mountaintop weird experience and being the normal to have it make sense to us. To bring the chaos back to what we can take and have it become what we know. And this is evident by how the disciples reacted to their experience that day. They had witnessed a complete change. He had morphed into something they'd never seen before, and in an instant he morphed back. And they heard a voice, and the voice said to them, "This is my Son, my beloved. Keep listening to him. Keep listening to him when he gets down from the mountain. Keep listening to him so you can understand in the normal days of life who he is. Keep trying to understand the message that he brings to you." But did they? No. They say that on the way back down from the mountain, they started arguing. It just didn't make sense to them. Sure, God spoke to them and said, "Keep listening." But then Jesus said, "Hey, don't reveal this to anyone till after I have been raised up from the dead." And so what did they argue about? Did they argue about God speaking to them? Did they argue about God saying, "Hey, keep listening to them"? No, they argued about, well, what do you suppose raised up from the dead means? And they had seen it before. Well, maybe it was too much, too fast, and too quick. Because what did the disciples get out of that? Just more confusion. They walked with Jesus, and they couldn't get it. Maybe they wanted more of the mountaintop experience or thought that that's what they needed, rather than to come down from the mountain and have to walk into the valleys. Today's media tells us that most people say that they are spiritual, but not religious. Those spiritual people don't get the religious. The ones who try to live out their faith in their normal, everyday life. The ones who want to pray with one another and with others who believe. The ones who study the Bible and the ones who gather to worship regularly. The spiritual people say, "Yeah, that doesn't make sense to us. We want the mountaintop experience. We want the God that's in our face and does these big things to make us know he's really here. We want God to be God right now the way I want now to be, and I want it to move me." Because the religious believe in their normal, everyday life, by how they act and what they do and how they believe. But what I hear today in this story that we get is that God wants us to remember who he is down off the mountain. He says, keep listening. Keep listening for what I would have you do. Keep listening to how Jesus says I would like you to be, and act upon that. Keep listening and let it permeate you and give you a satisfied life. Now, I know last week I shared with you a Super Bowl commercial. But I've got to talk about another Super Bowl commercial today. I'm just going to talk about it. I'm not going to show you. But how many of you remember the State Farm commercial last week? Super Bowl. The one where the guy is sitting with his friends and they're having a drink. And he looks over at a beautiful young woman and he goes, I'm never getting married. And his friends say, never. And the next scene shows the guy and he's buying an engagement ring. And the next scene shows him on the plane with his wife, new wife, and there are children on the plane, and they're not sitting quietly. And he goes, we're never having children. And she goes, never. And the next scene, they're having a child. And then they're sitting in their apartment. He goes, we're never moving to the suburbs. And she goes, never. And soon they're out in the front yard of their suburban house. And he sees a minivan. One for all the kids drive by. We're never owning one of those. Next thing, he's washing his minivan. Next thing, he's scrubbing the things off the wall the kids have written. He says, we're never having another child. And she says, I'm pregnant. And finally, it shows them all sitting together on the couch. And he says, I'm never letting go. Never letting go of all those nevers. From all of his nevers, he had the unexpected. Satisfying life took time. Listening for the right one. Being aware of who God was putting before him. It wasn't one big mountaintop experience. It was a bunch of nevers that added up, that gave him life and satisfaction. The normal life that you and I live every day, down in the valleys, on the hilltops, but probably not always up high on the mountain. Those are the ones that transform us. Those are the ones that change us and make us content with life. So perhaps you are feeling a yearning for something more, for your life to be more complete. To you, God says, keep listening. Perhaps you felt a much-needed search for whatever it is that you're missing to fill that gap. Keep listening. Keep listening, and from the dark, from the unknown, you will experience God's beloved raised up. Remember, you are baptized. You are a child of God. You are his beloved. He will raise you up. Amen.